Okay, so people on the Zoom call, you don't have this fancy-dancy opinion writing sheet. So you're going to have to do this in your notebook. But what we're doing right now is we're looking at our claim from yesterday, and the students in the class are taking that claim, which is right here in the article, tested out by Dan Dangerous. We did this yesterday. It's on our yesterday work. Yesterday's work was right here. We wrote this as a claim. They're copying that claim over into this box right here where it says claim. You may not have to copy it because you're just going to write down the evidence and either the quote or paraphrase in your notebook. So I'm copying the claim over. You guys should be doing the same thing. If you have this sheet, if you're at home, I don't know if you're going to be able to do that, but in the article, test it out by Dan Dangerous. And you can't see it because I'm writing all the way across my thing. He claims animal testing is safer than testing on humans, and results in medical breakthroughs. Okay, so there I've got my claim written down. How are we doing, people in the crowd?
Good.
Excellent. Super jacked about that. So now I'm going to do my best with this. I don't know how well it's going to work. But I'm essentially going to try and make this take up. Yeah, Galvin, what's up? How do you do opinion writing? How do I do what? Drawing number 2? You don't have to. I said that. You don't have to. I said you don't have this. You can just write the evidence down and do the quoting and the paraphrasing with us in your notebook and do the explanation there. And you might just need to look onto your crafting the claim sheet. That might be easier than just trying to draw this one. And in the future, I'll try and get you guys this sheet anytime that you're out while we're still doing this. But I didn't realize I needed it until the other day, and I'd already sent all your papers home. So we'll just make do with what we can, okay? Okay, I'll take your silence as an affirmation that that's going to be all right. Okay, so I'm going to have to switch back and forth best I can. I'm not sure it's going to work out super great, but we got to look back at our crafting the claim from yesterday. And we have 3 pieces of evidence that we used that we said were pretty good. The first one is this California Biomedical Research Association that stated that nearly every breakthrough in the last 100 years resulted directly from research using animals. We also had this one from the World Medical Association, Declaration of Helsinki states that, of Helsinki that stated that human trials should be preceded by tests on animals. That means tests on animals should be done before human trials. We had the American Veterinary Medical Association, which endorses animal testing to develop safer drugs, vaccines, and medical devices. And then this one we said maybe is not the best one because it's just from, we have to just attribute that to Dan Dangerous, and he's maybe not the best source that we have. So we have to decide which one of these we want to quote, because quoting is different than paraphrasing. Quoting has to be written the exact same way as it's written up here. Which one do we think we should probably quote? Talk with a neighbor or a friend or however I had you partner. Ready, go. People on the Zoom, you guys have to try and look back at your evidence.
Or, so that one, or the California Biological Research Association, because that seems
Okay, bring it back. So, if you're working in your notebook because you're on a Zoom, you're going to do this. Outside of the red here, you're going to write quote. Just like I did, right here. If you're working with me in the classroom and you have this sheet, you're going to write quote right here where it says evidence that this is your quote. But before we can do that, before we can move on from that, we got to look at this and decide which one we think is the one to quote. I know which one I would quote, and I have a reason why. Danielle, which one did you think you should quote?
the World Medical Association.
Okay, why did you go with that one?
Because it says that you should test on animals before you test on humans.
Okay. Does anybody have a different thought and a different reason? Danielle, you very well could quote that. I'm not saying that you couldn't. We could quote, could we quote any of these?
Yes.
Okay, you could quote any of them. Rajan, what did you think and why?
The CBRA.
Why?
Because it's telling you how they've done a lot of medical breakthroughs. And it's in our claim.
Okay, it's in our evidence list, and it talks about breakthroughs. Blake.
American Veterinary Medical Association, because it's saving it's saving some endangered species from
Well,
extinction.
see now, if you remember from yesterday, we said we probably have to attribute that to Dan Dangerous. We can only attribute the last sentence to the American Veterinary Medical Association, where they endorse animal testing to develop safe drugs, vaccines, and medical devices. Here's my thinking, as I model thinking for you. So if you want to know how I thought about it, you might want to listen right now. These two, to me, are kind of interrelated. And I may want to paraphrase them
Both.
Together. Here, if I said that the American Veterinary Medical Association says that animal testing, or is in support of animal testing to develop safe drugs, vaccines, and medical devices, and the World Medical Association Declaration of Helsinki said that human trials should be preceded by, you see how those go together?
Yeah.
These two to me go together. Is they should be, you should test on animals first, and it's even supported by the American Veterinary Medical Association. You guys see how those things work together? Does it work with every medical breakthrough in the last 100 years has resulted directly from research using animals?
No.
This one stands alone, but I could group these two together into one paraphrased summary, right? So I think we should quote this one. So now, this is going to be a little challenging. I'm going to write it up on the board, and then I will try to write it on the worksheet for you guys. So, if we're going to quote, what we have to decide is we can either list our source first, or we can list our source second. Doesn't really matter.
No.
Parker.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can we abbreviate when we're quoting?
The rule for that is, okay, it's a good question. Can you abbreviate when you are quoting? The first time that you reference something, you can't. Let's say that we have multiple quotes from the California Biomedical Research Association. Then what we would do is we'd do this. So I'm going to start the quote. I'm going to show you guys what you need to do. We might say, according to the California, just right now I want you to pay attention, Biomedical Research I always spell association out. It's a C. Association. Now, if I had more quotes from them coming up, here's what you would do. This is the first time I've mentioned them, yes? I have to write it all out. If I want to abbreviate after this, I say the CBRA. Now, if I ever had another quote by them, I could just say, the CBRA also states that, and people would know that I'm referring to the California Board of Research, or Biomedical Research Association. Does that make sense? The first time that you mention somebody, you cannot abbreviate them. If you reference them, then list the abbreviation afterwards, then you can use the abbreviation instead of writing it out. Does everyone understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Braden, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay. Now, for our sake, we don't have that, so you don't have to put the abbreviation in. We're not going to reference them again, are we? If you're not going to reference them again, then you don't need to put in the abbreviation. For example, again, I always reference my big paper that I did, and we take the STAR test, right? The Renaissance STAR test stands for something like Standard Test for the Assessment of Reading. So when I wrote my paper, I had to put the Renaissance Standard Test for the Assessment of Reading, and then in parentheses I put STAR, parentheses, and then every time after that when I just wanted to reference that test, I would call it the Renaissance STAR test. But the first time I had to say what it was. Make sense? Which is really confusing because my research was on math, so it actually said the Renaissance Standard Test for the Assessment of Reading in Mathematics. Ugh. After that I could just say STAR Math Test.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that's why you do that, because it will shorten your paper down. Okay, so according to the California Biomedical Research Association, now I'm going to start saying what they say. So here's how you do that. If you're listing your source first. Some of you aren't paying attention. This is important. If I'm going to list the quote after this, I put a comma. So according to the California Biomedical Research Association, comma, quotation mark, where should I start from?
After that.
Nearly.
I would probably start from nearly. Now, the way this is written, we'll just do it this way for right now. I'm not going to touch on it. Nearly every medical, it's got to be written the exact same. Breakthrough in the last 100 years has resulted directly from research using animals. Period. Quotation mark. It has to be written the exact same way. Go ahead and do that right now in your evidence. Nearly every medical breakthrough in the last 100 years has resulted directly from research using animals. Who's still writing? Okay, keep going. I know this takes some time. We may only get to quoting today. Now the one thing I want to show you as we finish up here is, if you lead with your source, then you put a comma and you start the quotation mark, alright? And the punctuation goes inside the quotation marks. Now what I could do here is I could take all of this and I could move it to the back. And if I decide to end with my source, then instead of having a period here, I would have a comma. What if this is a question mark, though, or an exclamation point? Then it has to stay. A question mark, this stays a question mark. If you're quoting a question, which I'm not sure why you would. If it's an exclamation point, it has to stay an exclamation point. But if it's a period, you change it to a comma. Then I just take this and I move it to the end. Comma. According to the California, you guys get what I'm saying? And then the period would go at the end of association instead of a comma. Well, really all this means is it's like saying it continues on. California Biomedical Research Association, then you'd have your period at the end.
So on.
So on and so on, yep. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I wanted to show you with that, is that I could take this and I could move it to the end. Macy,
Do we have to put the?
you don't have to make that change.
Okay.
I don't want you to write that, I just want you to write what we did. Maybe next time, we'll put the source at the end.
Okay.
But I just wanted to show you that you can start with the quote and end with the source, or you can start with the source and go with it. That's kind of a stylistic. You don't want to always do this. According to the California Biomedical Research Association, the American Medical Veterinarians Association states you don't want to always lead with the source, lead with the source, lead with the source, lead with the source. It's good to mix it up. It reads better if it has a little bit of a mix. You know, do you guys understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So now, is everybody done with the evidence? Now we need to come up with an explanation. Remember, the explanation is kind of like saying, what is this trying to, like, what are we supposed to take away from this? So I want you guys to think about with a partner, nearly every medical breakthrough in the last 100 years has resulted directly from research using animals. What does the author want us to take away from this? What's our evidence? What conclusion can we draw from that? I'll let you guys think about it, then I'll model, okay? Okay, so here's what I think. Here's the conclusion that I draw. You guys ready? They're telling me that nearly every medical breakthrough, medical advancements that has happened, wouldn't have been possible without the research using animals. So here's my takeaway. Without animal testing, we could possibly miss out on a lot of medical breakthroughs. Right? Or a lot of advancements in medicine. So my takeaway is, if we don't test on animals, we may miss out on many medical advancements. Right? Is that unreasonable? Is that an unreasonable conclusion?
No.
Is that basically what they're saying? That if we didn't test on animal, or the testing, they're telling me that the testing on animals led to medical breakthroughs. So therefore, without medical breakthroughs, or without animal testing, we might not have those medical breakthroughs. So you put that in your own words, your own explanation. I'm gonna say something like, if we don't test on animals, we may miss out on some medical advancements. I snuck advancements in there. I sneak a period in there too. Okay, we only got to quoting today. We're gonna have to paraphrase tomorrow. What's up?
Do we have to write the exact thing that you?
Should it be similar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or if you have a different one that maybe you did, if you feel real confident in what you got, you can do what you think. Okay, I'm gonna go get the healthy snack. My class, you need to make sure that this stays in your reading folder so that we can paraphrase tomorrow for other information. And then have out your reading book to whatever page it was we left off on. It's like
It's 2 something, like 240.
240-ish.
Well, 2.
If you need a bathroom break once you're done putting this all away and having your book ready, then you may use the bathroom. Instead of letting the iPad run for the next 50 minutes, I'm just going to shut it off.
So it doesn't die.
So that's gonna be